I got saved 6 years ago, the summer after my sophomore year of high school. I've been coming to Dexter United Methodist Church for, like I said, 10 years now, since 6th grade. That was the second time that my family moved to Michigan. But it wasn't until 6 years ago that the Lord entered my life and really began to work in my life and change it. I got saved in Memphis, Tennessee at Service Over Self. If you look up, you'll see a lot of the SOS flags. Over there in the middle, the 114 SOS flags. I got saved on one of the trips that our youth group here took down to Memphis. Before then, my family was was involved in the church off and on throughout many years. I've moved 8 times. My actual longest time I've lived anywhere is my 4 years at Eastern, at college. So I've moved about every 3 years my whole life, and so we've been involved in a number of churches off and on over the years. And by the time I was getting into high school, I went to 3 high schools. I went to Dexter, Brighton, and Pinckney High School, where I graduated from. And we were moving around a bunch, downsizing in the midst of that. And in the midst of all that craziness, church became less and less of a priority, especially for me. You know, I was shifting high school, just trying to figure out what I was doing, who I was, and so church, Jesus, God, none of that really mattered to me. That was on the back burner. But one day at the end of my sophomore year of high school, my mom actually is also here. She picked me up from school, and we had to go run some errands. And while we were out, we stopped by the church here at Dexter. And while we were here, Jeremy, our youth pastor, caught me and invited me on the trip down to Memphis, Tennessee, that they do every year. And as a 16-year-old, I had wanted absolutely nothing to do with that trip. I was not interested. You know, I didn't want to go do construction. I didn't want to go on this trip with a bunch of people I didn't know. I didn't want to spend a week with Jesus. That didn't seem important to me. That wasn't on my priority list. But my mother told me that I should go once, and that if I didn't like it, I didn't have to go back. And so I went with the intention of never going back. And so spent the week in Memphis of Service Over Self. We did roofing. That's kind of how I got my introduction to construction work. We did roofing, and then we had worship and games in the evenings. And it was all right. It was hot. I sort of made some friends. It wasn't a super spectacular experience, as I was very introverted and not really wanting to get out of my shell. In the evenings during the worship times, we had a guest speaker, a local man from Memphis, came out. He was talking each night, and he was sharing the gospel throughout the week. The first night he talked about creation, the second night he talked about the fall, the third night he talked about afterwards, and the fourth night he talked about Jesus and his death and resurrection. And he kind of summarized the gospel by saying that if you accept Jesus before you die, you go to heaven. And as a 16-year-old, I was taken back by that a little bit. I went up to him after the talk, I posed a few questions, and I said, so you're telling me that I can do whatever I want, be a horrible person, and as long as I accept Jesus before I die, I'll go to heaven? And he said, yes. And I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, that is not the way the world works. That's not the way life works. How could that possibly be the case? And so I walked away that night rejecting the gospel as he presented it to me. But the last night, SOS comes around. We're back in that same room. We're doing worship. It's a crowded room. It's hot. There's fans blaring, and we're singing songs. And I, as a student, as a child especially, I did not like singing. I was not a singer. Didn't like dancing. I didn't like the children's programs or anything. So I kind of just stood there in this crowd of people, twiddling my thumbs and thinking to myself. And all of a sudden, this overwhelming experience of love and peace and joy just took over me and broke me down. And I started crying. And I was freaking out a bit. So I'm like, why am I crying? You know, especially in front of people I don't know or people I don't like. I'm like, this is not okay. This is not what should be happening right now. And once I kind of moved past that, I began to realize that was God revealing himself to me. And it was that moment that changed my life. I started really trying to love people and branch out of my comfort zone. I was a very hateful student. I didn't really like people. I didn't want to be around a bunch of people. I spent most of my time in my parents' basement playing video games, kind of doing my own thing. That really began to change my life after that moment. I also tried to start being grateful to God for the gifts and the blessings that he had given me, and it truly changed my perspective. Fast forward a couple of years, I was very involved in the youth group after that point, very involved in church, and I am graduating from Bement High School. I'm about to go off to college. I left high school with essentially no friends. I had a series of bad romantic relationships and bad friendships that all kind of came crumbling down around me. I had not yet learned what it meant to be a man of Christ and to lead as a man of Christ, and made a lot of mistakes. So I left high school with basically no friends, or no close friends at least. And then that summer, we also had a lot of family issues. Really hit our family, really impacted me. And I felt really alone, and I was really struggling. And so I felt alone a lot in my life. I moved 8 times. You know, it's hard to maintain friendships and relationships when you're moving every 3 years, but this was unlike anything I had experienced before. But the difference was this time I had Jesus. And Jesus made all the difference in that experience. And so I went into college with a couple of things in mind. I said, all right, God, if you're the only one that doesn't hurt me or let me down or betray me in some way, then you're the only one I can really rely on. And I told him that I was going to devote my life to him going to college. And so I went my freshman year, and my first goal was to get involved in a good church, specifically a good group of guys. And so I tried out a bunch of the Christian organizations. I did Crew and His House and InterVarsity, and I did New Life as well, which is the church that I'm going on staff with. And I got involved my freshman year. I ended up sticking with New Life. They had a very strong core group of men with a lot of opportunities for me to get discipled and poured into, which I really valued. So my freshman year, I ended up getting discipled by a guy named Bement, who's actually been to the church before. Some of you may have met him. He really just challenged me in my faith, in reading the Bible, in prayer, in every aspect. He also helped me a lot through a lot of family issues that were taking over. And so he was there for me. We spent time together every single week, and he poured into me. Like Adam mentioned, you know, that one-on-one discipleship and being trained and raised to make disciples was so impactful for me. Keep going on. My sophomore year, I got apprenticed by John Allen, who many of you know as well. His son, this is my roommate who's here. He apprenticed me to start leading home groups and small groups. This following summer, I started leading in home groups and small groups, and then I also interned for the church this past year. So I raised a small sum of support, which most of you know, to intern with the church for 20 hours a week during my senior year of college. So that leads me to where I am now, going on staff. So I'm super excited for that. I've always had a desire to go into ministry. I've always felt a calling towards ministry. The Lord's really impacted my life. From the very beginning, I was like, how could I not share this with the world? How can I not share about this love and this thing that changed my life, you know? And I thought that looked differently over the years. I wanted to do youth ministry originally. And as Jim mentioned, I interned with the youth here at this church the summer after my sophomore year of high school. The same summer that I started leading home groups for New Life. And that summer was super formative for me. It really was when the Lord began to guide me. That summer, He really started shifting my heart from youth ministry to college ministry. And I loved youth ministry. I loved being there. I worked at SOS for a summer. I really enjoyed serving youth. But I began to realize that a lot of students are here because their parents told them to be. A lot of them aren't mature enough or ready to fully seek after the Lord and grow in their personal relationship with God. And college is really a place that makes or breaks faith. And college is really a place where that relationship with Jesus becomes extremely personal. And I wanted to be a part of that formation, that relationship. And so that kind of leads me to where I am now, going on staff.